Let's talk about draft, baby. Let's talk about dead RBs. Let's talk about Jaxson, Dart, Shadur, and TEs. Let's talk about. You like that? Sorry I'm late, you guys. I was recording a show. We went a little bit long. You see my hat that I'm wearing? It's an LSU baseball hat. You know I'm wearing it. It's in honor of Shadur Sanders, the biggest loser of them all. I am in my home studio back from Green Bay, where I was for the draft. It was a pretty fun trip. Flew out on Wednesday night frantically because my first flight was rescheduled, and I would have missed the connecting flight in Chicago, or to Chicago. And so frantically got there and then drove up to Green Bay and then did the draft stuff. And that was fantastic. I got to interview Ashton Genty. That's over on the Uncovered channel on my Raiders show. You can watch that. I got to ask him his first question. I got to ask him his last question. That was fantastic. Got to interview Travis Hunter, got to interview Abdul Carter. It was just a great trip all around. I got hammered, absolutely plastered, and then slept for 14 hours. So that was good. But the story of it all, and that's what I'm here to talk about today to kick off the show, is Shadur motherfucking Sanders. All right, there were some people, including me, who were not sure that Sanders wasn't going to go in the first two or three picks, or first three picks in the draft on Thursday. I was, kind of hoping that the Browns or the Giants would draft him at 2 or 3. He had been talked about going to the Raiders at 6 for almost the entire offseason. But here's the thing that got lost along the way. Pat Shurmur is the offensive coordinator at the University of Colorado. And he's the one that designed Shadur Sanders' offense. And the way he did it, he designed it to make Shadur successful at the University of Colorado, not to become an NFL quarterback, which was a disservice to Shadur. On top of that, he didn't have an agent. On top of that, Deion Sanders is his dad and everybody loves him and nobody wants to cross Deion Sanders. So nobody told Shadur the truth. You are not a good quarterback yet. You still need time to learn NFL offenses to be a quarterback. Pat Shurmur is locked into the NFL community. Do you think that teams interested in Shadur Sanders did not contact Pat Shurmur and say, hey, tell me everything that you can about your quarterback at the University of Colorado? Of course they did. He probably talked to scouting directors, GMs, head coaches, offensive coordinators around the league about Shadur Sanders. And guess what? He probably told them he's not worth it. That's what this was all about. It didn't have anything to do with the color of his skin. It didn't have anything to do with people trying to send a message or whatever. That's all horse shit, and it's all for clickbait and whatever. Shadur Sanders was not a good quarterback in the NFL today. And Pat Shurmur had to have told whoever inquired, yeah, you don't need to waste the capital. And Dylan Gabriel went ahead of Shadur Sanders. I watched Dylan Gabriel in person from the Senior Bowl. And the first day of practices, I thought, hey, Dylan Gabriel is throwing the ball better than anybody else here at the Senior Bowl on day 1. By day 3, he looked terrible. And at the combine, he looked undraftable. And guess what? He got drafted by the same team as Shadur Sanders rounds before Shadur Sanders. If that doesn't say anything about Shadur Sanders' level of talent, I don't know what does. So, yeah, that's my take on Shadur. I guarantee you it has to do with Pat Shurmur and the offense that was run at University of Colorado. And I said it on shows throughout the draft season. Never once wanting to take Shadur Sanders, never ever wanting the Raiders to have him. Like you can see talent when you watch football. And yes, he was accurate to a certain extent, but he held on to the ball too long. He's not a good runner. There were lots of red flags with Shadur Sanders that had to do with his talent, not the message. It wasn't because he's too egotistical. One of the best stories was you had an NFL executive who was a total coward and wouldn't reveal his name, said that the Shedeur Sanders interview was one of the worst that he had. And that could, like, the way that Shedeur Sanders presented himself in interviews, that could have had something to do with it. So if you see that personality in the interviews, and then you hear from Pat Shurmur, and then you watch the tape and all that stuff, of course, you're not going to want to invest in this player. So this executive said that Shedeur Sanders was the worst interview he'd seen in his career. And then it was leaked that Shedeur Sanders was asked to do an install for the New York Giants when he went to his interview. And when he went to the interview, he wasn't prepared. He didn't have the install. Well, what did the New York Giants do in the draft? They traded up into the first round to draft my guy, my QB1, the lead thumbnail on the premiere episode of this show, Jaxson Dart, giving Jaxson Dart first round draft capital. When I was at his press conference, Jaxson Dart's press conference at the Senior Bowl, he answered questions about offense, about playbooks, about reading defenses, and his answers were on point. He went into the New York Giants meeting and he had the install all done. That's all the Giants needed. They were never going to draft Shedeur Sanders at 2. They were never going to draft Shedeur Sanders in the first round. They would never have traded up, but they did for my boy Jaxson Dart. So that's another thing that I want to talk about right now. And this is, so not only was my take on Jaxson Dart being my QB1 of this class, not only was that unhinged, but listen to this. At this point, Jaxson Dart is a Superflex Dynasty top 5 pick. Now, I'm in an undroppables league, a lot of experts, a lot of sharps, and he just went at the 109. I'm telling you, draft Jaxson Dart in the top 5 in the Superflex. Here's the reason. Number 1, he has first round draft capital. Number 2, we know that nobody holds value in dynasty leagues for as long as quarterbacks, even if they suck, even if they don't play. On top of that, you have the fact that he's got great college numbers. On top of that, you have him being profiled to Sam Howell and Brock Purdy as kind of a floor ceiling thing. We know Sam Howell, first 14 games of his career, first 14 weeks of his career, he was a top 10 quarterback. Hasn't been able to get on the field since then and has been traded twice, but still, he put up the numbers. He showed that he can do it, and Jaxson Dart profiles that way. He also shares a lot of similarities in profile to Brock Purdy, although he has first-round draft capital to Brock Purdy's 7th-round draft capital, being Mr. Irrelevant. So he's got that draft capital. He's going to have the contract. He's going to be almost impossible to cut and lose his job and all that stuff. He's gonna be a quarterback for at least the next 4 or 5 years, and he has the rushing upside, 500 yards per season at Ole Miss over the last 3 years. Now, I've said in my scouting reports, Jaxson Dart is very accurate in the intermediate and short game. He was also the best deep passer in the NCAA. Whether or not that had anything to do with Trey Harris, that's not what I'm arguing about. I'm just saying that Jaxson Dart was able to do it. You add to that the fact that Lane Kiffin's offense is heavy RPO. Jaxson Dart runs the RPO with those intermediate and short routes. He's very, very good. He's going to be good, you guys. The last thing about Dart is who's in front of him in the New York Giants quarterback room. You got Russell Wilson, who's absolutely cooked. And you got Jameis Winston, who is older, and we liked what we saw in Cleveland last year. But he's a cut candidate because there's almost literally no cap hit if the Giants decide to let him go. So Jaxson Dart doesn't have many hurdles. There is a range of outcomes in which Jaxson Dart goes into rookie camp, then goes into OTAs, then goes into training camp and shows the New York Giants, I'm the best quarterback in this room. And he is the starter on day 1. And then he brings that 500 yards rushing per season cheat code profile to the New York Giants, and he's throwing the ball to Malik Neighbors, and he's throwing the ball 120 times to Wan'Dale Robinson, and he's got Tyrone Tracy at running back, who's a converted wide receiver, and he's got Cam Scatabo at running back, who led the NCAA or led FBS last year in receiving yards among running backs. There is a range of outcomes that Jaxson Dart is a top 5 quarterback in the NFL in fantasy in 2025. You're not going to get that from anybody else. And in Superflex, you know that he's going to carry that value. Even if he doesn't start, he's going to carry his first round capital value for at least a few years. If I have a top 5 pick in a rookie draft and I need a quarterback, I'm absolutely drafting Jaxson Dart. All right. J-Mac says, what up, bigz? What up, J-Mac? Sorry, I was late. I was doing another show where I got to rant about all this stuff that I'm repeating now, but you have to watch that on a different network. Undroppables are unstoppable. That is correct. Thank you, Jamie. Grabbing Dart late first, also got him in the early second. If you can get him early in the second or in the late first, that's a smash, because as far as I'm concerned, he's a top 5 pick. I'm going to do it on a dynasty show, not on this one, because that's not what this format is. But, would you rather, and then just throw a bunch of names out there, and I might do that next time I have a guest or something like that. And there's a lot of guys that I'm taking Dart over. And Dart is connected to Malik Neighbors. Yeah, I said that. All right. So that's Shador. That's Jaxson Dart. I'm standing by my Kyle McCord call. For whatever that's worth. It was a long 4 or 5 days. I had a lot of jet lag. The jet lag created depression. I totally forgot what situation Kyle McCord landed in. Philadelphia. Yeah. Okay. So my Kyle McCord call didn't just stand. It didn't just stand. It got even sweeter, because who's ahead of him in Philadelphia? Jalen Hurts, who we know running quarterbacks get hurt at a higher rate than non-running quarterbacks. So it's not like he's going to some safe spot for the starting quarterback. He's going into a situation where Jalen Hurts very easily could rip a ligament in the first 2 or 3 weeks, and then suddenly Kyle McCord is starting, and his big arm is just going to just destroy in fantasy. So I like Kyle McCord. Dart in round 2. Yes, Chev, if he's in round 2, and I appreciate you, brother, last night in our group chat, saying that you already had 3 shares. I love it. What is this about running quarterbacks getting hurt more? Yeah, I mean, it's a couple years old. It was it came from trying to figure out when Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen were going to go down. It was something about when you have over 100 rushes, it's an average of 3 years before you have like an injury. Even if Dart isn't the starter, they can use him on design. They're not going to do that. Why would they do that if they have Cam Scatabo, who runs like he stole something? Excuse me. So Kyle McCord, I'm standing by that. There is a path for him to be the highest fantasy point total scoring quarterback in 2025. And also the big mind blow out of the entire draft in the quarterback class for me. We don't stand for Scatabo shade around here. Scatabo is very good. Hey Jamie, pop quiz hotshot. Who led FBS in receiving yards among running backs last year? Anyway, Tyler Shuck. Now, yes, I can't quit the Kyle McCord. He's my quarterback, Treylon Burks. Anyway, sorry to trigger your PTSD, guys. All right, Tyler Shuck. Do you think in camp he can outplay Spencer Rattler and Jake Haener? Shout out Fresno State. Shout out NorCal. Yeah. Yeah, he had one good year, but only one. He went to Sac State, bro. We don't talk bad about Sac State players. Anyway, yeah, so he can absolutely the guy is the last NFL player drafted to be born in the previous millennium. He's older than Spencer Rattler already. And we know he's better than Jake Haener as long as he doesn't get hurt. And Derek Carr is hurt. Tyler Shuck could be starting week 1. How crazy is that? Also helped himself a lot with draft capital. Like that, him landing with the Saints was a very good situation for him and possibly for you in fantasy. Now, I would be more willing to draft him in redraft than in dynasty, just because of his his injury history. But I need your take on Land Larson in New England. Okay, here's my take on Land Larson in New England. I am fairly upset that he didn't get drafted. We know that he has 4th round talent. But what do UDFAs do? UDFAs that are successful go into a situation and they show out by playing special teams, being hard-nosed, and basically generally doing the little things that catch position coaches' eyes. And if there's anybody that can do that, it's Land Larson. Now, the kid did rodeo in Caldwell, Idaho growing up. He's a rodeo kid. Somebody said something about that's where he got his contact balance. And he's hard-nosed. He's going to fall off a fucking cow and get back up. And right, so he's going to be a dog out on the field. Mike Vrabel is there. Mike Vrabel is going to absolutely love Land Larson. He's going to do the little things. He's going to hustle. He's going to block. In pass blocking, he in all of college football last year, he was the highest rated pass blocking running back. Who's the guy that was ahead of him? I lost my notes. Anyway, there was somebody else that was number 2, but he was the best. It's out there on Twitter. He allowed 0 pressures as a blocking running back in passing downs situations. So he's going to catch the eye of the New England coaching staff. And what that's going to do is allow him to make the 53-man roster or at least the practice squad. Now, I hope in my heart that he makes the practice squad and then the Raiders steal him. But I feel like he's going to get a shot. Ramondre, Travion Henderson, and Land Larson, and you go from there. I think he's going to do enough over the course of the summer to wow the Patriots coaching staff. The other thing is that talking to his dad, like during the draft weekend, he had been in talks with a bunch of different teams, and so they have a plan. New England has a plan for him. So they went after him, and he got to choose because of the fact that he went UDFA. And when I mentioned to his dad that UDFA contracts a lot of times are larger than like 7th rounders, and you also get to pick your landing spot rather than you just being beholden to a team, that was a benefit. He got to pick where he went, and I think he picked the right head coach because he's a dog and Vrabel's going to love him. The other part of my take on Land Larson is how the hell did Tommy Millott get drafted to a position he's never played before Land Larson got drafted as a running back? And on the show that I just recorded, we did draft risers and fallers. And I brought up, so my biggest faller, I went over that on my show, but I also had an honorable mention for biggest fallers. And that was Tez Johnson, Ricky White, Caden Prather, Kanata Mumpfield, Dominic Levitt, and Junior Bergen. Those were all the wide receivers that were drafted in the 7th round of the NFL draft. Behind Tommy Millott, shout out FFDF. Derek Fucks. Tommy Mellott from Montana State was their quarterback. The Raiders drafted him to convert him to wide receiver. So we saw this from Julian Edelman. Julian Edelman went to Kent State. Then he went to the Patriots as a wide receiver convert, played 3 years on special teams, squads, and basically like created for himself the opportunity to be in a situation to come in after somebody got hurt and become Julian Edelman. And that's Tommy Mellott's path to success right now for the Raiders. I will not know. All right. I had a whole bunch of stuff. Let me. I'm out of breath from all this ranting. I'm unhinged. Sorry. Notes. This is great content. Oh yeah. We're gonna talk. I talked about that. I want to talk about tight ends for a second. What the fuck, Chicago Bears, were you doing drafting Colston Loveland and completely subverting the fantasy needs of everybody that wants a breakout tight end? Some people had Colston Loveland as tight end 1 in this class. The people who look at Tyler Warren and go, yeah, he's really good, but he's not going to be successful with Anthony Richardson as quarterback, had Colston Loveland as their tight end 1. And he goes to Chicago? Oh, come on. We're going to have on Dynasty Stock Market on Monday, Tuesday, we're going to have Andrew Cooper on. He's going to give us post-draft tight end analysis. And I've talked about this before. Andrew Cooper has laid out that if you look historically at the tight end draft classes, if you're drafted as a tight end 3 or later of your class, you're likely not going to hit. If you do, you are an outlier. So does this class contain 7 outliers, or is it going to be Colston Loveland and Tyler Warren? Now, with Tyler Warren going to Chicago, I don't think he's going to have a Brock Bowers, Sam Laporta type season. His breakout, his showcase probably won't come for a little while. Tyler Warren isn't in a great spot. Harold Fannin isn't in a great spot. He got drafted to a team that has David Njoku, who took 5 or 6 years to get his breakout. There's a world of possibility right now that Mason Taylor is the tight end 1 of this rookie class because he has a very clear path. He's on the Jets. All the other tight ends, this whole tight end class got screwed. Everybody got screwed. Oronde Gadsden goes to a team that just signed a free agent. Like, everybody got screwed. Maybe you can make a case that Elijah Arroyo in Seattle is a good situation. But he's got a guy ahead of him too, that in AJ Barner, that we've been like, oh, he's going to break out pretty quick. Like, everybody got fucked. It's so hilarious. All right. As far as let me talk about the dead RBs for a second. Because that one is just absolutely wild. I drafted Hunter 102 in a 12-team SF with IDP. What was he doing at the 102? How did he fall that far? That's crazy. I'm trying to get the 102 in my home league because I'm drafting Hunter with the 101, and I really want my Genty. Genty on the Raiders. A lot of people saw it coming. Oh, I'm so hyped. So hyped. And that was the question I asked him. I don't know. I don't remember if the question I asked him was to lead off his press conference post-draft. I said, now that you're going to the Raiders and they have Geno Smith along with Brock Bowers and Jacoby Myers, are you excited that you're going to see fewer loaded boxes this year? And he smiled, and he was very happy with that question because he led college football last year in 8-man boxes. almost 60%. And he still forced missed tackles on 40% of his runs, seeing more defenders in the box than anybody else in college. He was in the Mountain West. Yeah. Well, there have been successful Mountain West running backs before. There are still some currently in the NFL. And their numbers aren't even close to what Genty's were. There's a quad box of analytics where Genty stretches the y-axis or whatever. I'm not a math guy, but he makes it oblong because he's so far such an outlier over everybody. He's gonna be amazing to watch. You give him a little bit of space. I watched rewatched the Max Crosby did a live draft reaction stream that was like 4 hours long. And when the Raiders picked Genty, he and Jackson Powers Johnson were there, along with Cleveland Browns legend Brogan Roback. And they were so hyped. Jackson Powers Johnson is so hyped. He's gonna be a fun one to watch. I drafted Mason Taylor at 210 and a 0.75. That's probably gonna be super good value. I did get, so you probably know Fantasy Cares does the Fantasy Cares Eliminator Leagues. So it's a best ball league, and there are quote unquote celebrity people who are like the showcase of the league. So basically it's a bunch of analysts, and you go and you pick, like, I want to play against this guy. I want to play against this gal. I just said gal. God, I'm getting old. Stop it. Stop me getting old, you guys. But obviously, I love Andrew Cooper. I wanted to be in the Andrew Cooper League, so I get in the Andrew Cooper League. Who else is in the Andrew Cooper League? Steve Berthume from ESPN. So I get to beat him. I got the 101. It's an 18-team best ball. That means I don't get a pick. I get pick 1, and I get pick 36. Fuck me. It's the absolute worst draft position in an 18 league. 18-team league is the one, and it does include defensive back scoring. So Travis Hunter very well. I have to like put my model together to do my draft prep. But Travis Hunter could be the 101 in that league too, because there's defensive back, but he would be a much better pick in the middle of the first round than he would at the 101. Because if it's super flex, you take Travis Hunter, you're getting an edge at wide receiver, but 36 picks later, you could possibly have no quarterback who's a starting quarterback in the NFL. I might wind up with one. And that's if I draft like Jane Daniels #1 or Josh Allen, whatever. I'm totally fucked in that league. All right. What was I going to talk about? All right. Dead RBs. Let me find that real quick, because I wanted to go over, I did some digging, and I want to talk about running back situations, because a lot of running backs died. And the biggest one to me is Devin Neal. Devin Neal just got absolutely torpedoed. Kid was lights out at Kansas. I had such high hopes for him. He was such a good interview, and he wound up going in the 6th round to New Orleans. He's got Kendre Miller in front of him, who has the draft capital. He's got Alvin Kamara, who's got a $28 million cap hit. So let me just run through this real quick, because this is bad. So at my count, there are 25 running backs who were drafted. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 that are green. Green means that they have good draft capital and a good situation. I looked at who the running back is ahead of them on the depth chart, what the dead cap of that running back is, and if there's a good possibility they'll replace that running back. So starting with Genty, the Raiders have Devin Mostert Devin Mostert. What is wrong with my brain? Raheem Mostert. He's old. So his draft capital doesn't matter. And his dead cap is 1.56 million. So he's basically going to be a glorified backup, easily cuttable. The Raiders right now are looking at $40 million of cap space at the moment. That's before they sign like post June 1st free agents and close to the 53-man roster free agents, etc. They have a lot of wiggle room, and 1.56 million isn't going to hurt at all to cut him. So Genty's fine. Omarion Hampton, he's got Najee, who you could make a case that he's ahead of him, but it's the Chargers, and we know that if they're smart, they're gonna roll with Hampton. But they could. It is the Chargers, so they could be looking at it as Najee is our first half and early down bowling ball, and then Hampton is going to be dynamic after the defense has kind of been pounded a little bit, tenderized. So they're for the second running back to go off the board in the first round to be like the spellback, that would suck. But that could happen. So that one's kind of iffy. Then you got Quinshon Judkins. He's got Jerome Ford in front of him. Jerome Ford was a 5th round pick. So Judkins has the draft capital, and there's 80,000 of dead cap if Ford gets cut. That's Judkins' job. Judkins is starting for the Cleveland Browns. Travion Henderson, similar 2nd round draft capital to Ramondre's 4th round draft capital. Ramondre carries a $6 million hit. Travion's a starter in New England. RJ Harvey, Estime's in front of him with 5th round draft capital. So Harvey's got the draft capital over him and a $254,000 dead cap to Estime. They can cut him, not worry about it. It looks like they invested enough in Harvey that Harvey's going to be the number 1 running back in that room. But nobody knows what's in Sean Payton's brain. This is a man that for 2 years tried everything that he could do to run Javonte Williams as much as possible. And then Audric Estime showed some good efficiency, and he still went back to Javonte Williams. We don't know what's going to happen. But at this point, it looks like RJ Harvey is the guy. Then we get to Caleb Johnson. Love this. I love Caleb Johnson's landing spot in Pittsburgh. He's got Arthur Smith as his offensive coordinator. Mike Tomlin is the head coach. Jalen Warren is a UDFA in front of him. They invested in Caleb Johnson. By all means, Caleb Johnson will be the starter in Pittsburgh. The next one off the board, so now we're at RB7, Bashal Tutin. This one is weird. So last year, Travis Etienne and Tank Bigsby had almost equal carries. Etienne wasn't as efficient as he had been, but there was also the matter of Trevor Lawrence not like being hurt, Evan Ingram missing a ton of time, and Mac Jones being the quarterback, and Bigsby kind of like making some noise. Etienne, wherever he is, should be the best running back in the room and get the lion's share of the carries. So in my notes here, I have this is the what the fuck running back room. They've got Bashal Tutin, who we think could be a 3-down back just because of his profile, and he's a little fire plug. But we don't know what's happening in Jacksonville, so that's a lot of mouths to feed in that RB room. And if I'm Liam Cohen, I'm like, this is fantastic because I'll just play all 3 of them 1/3 of the game, and we'll be fine. And they'll all be safe. But it hurts in fantasy. And then we get to RB8. Cam Skattebo. Talked about him. He's got a round of draft capital over Tyrone Tracy. He also is a prolific receiving back. And then you have Devin Singletary, who's out there. Tracy is a $214K dead cap, and Singletary is a $6 million cap hit. So it's not likely that the Giants would be cutting Singletary, but it probably wouldn't hurt them if they did. I forgot to look up what Singletary's total payout is, but it's a $6 million cap hit if they cut him. So that's it. That's the list. These are the guys who have a path to starting job in Dynasty as rookies. Then you get into Trevor Etienne, who somehow top 10 drafted running back. What? His case is interesting because ahead of him are Chuba and Rico Dowdle. Rico Dowdle, I think, can be cut for nothing. Chuba's not going anywhere. He just signed an extension. He's a $9.9 million cap hit, and we know Jonathan Brooks isn't playing this year. So it's very likely that in week one, Trevor Etienne is the third down receiving back in the Carolina offense. That's not crazy. And then after that, we got Woody Marks and Jarquez Hunter, Dylan Sampson. Those are your fourth round running backs. They've got established guys that are expensive ahead of them. Dylan Sampson even has Quinshon Judkins ahead of him. Although it's very likely if Kevin Stefanski is tired of Isaiah Ford, that Jerome Ford, Jesus, if he's tired of Jerome Ford, it's Judkins and Sampson going into the season as the RB1 and 2. But you got Mixon in front of Marks, Kyron in front of Hunter, Corum in front of Hunter as well. Kyron is interesting because he was a fifth rounder, and he's only a $77,000 cap hit. If they decide to move on from him and make Corum the starter and Hunter the RB2 in that room. Then we got Jordan James. I mean, that's a terrible situation. You got $20 million is a Christian McCaffrey dead cap, and Isaac Rendo's there. Jordan James isn't gonna, like, he's a maybe. Jaden Blue is an interesting one. Javonte Williams is only $1 million cap hit. Miles Sanders is a dead cap of $1.167 million. So the Cowboys could cut Javonte and Miles Sanders, and it only costs them $2 million. And they have Jaden Blue, and he's the starting running back all of a sudden, and costs them almost nothing. Fifth rounder contract. DJ Giddens, I'm loading up in like late rounds in my dynasties drafts, and loading up in best ball, because he should be the backup behind Jonathan Taylor, and Jonathan Taylor is a breath away from getting hurt again. I hope it doesn't happen, but he very well could. So as far as like late round handcuffs, dart throws go, DJ Giddens is a really good one. Ollie Gordon is behind Devon Achane. Gordon might be in a situation kind of like Raheem Mostert, where he's used primarily as between the tackles guy. So that could be an interesting situation. The problem is he was drafted in the 6th round. So are we looking at an era where there's so much talent in the running back position, and difference in talent is splitting hairs, basically, that 6th and 7th round guys are starting? That hasn't happened before. Old guys starting, that has never really led to success. So our modeling may need to be adjusted over the next couple of years based on this class, because we get into those tropes of like, oh, he's a 24-year-old, or he ran a 4.6, or blah blah blah, and then we have some guys that come out and they're successful, or they earn jobs, and that changes the tropes. I traded away Garendo, Jalen Wright, Jalen Williams, Jalen, and the 310 for Trey Mother effing Harris. That's pretty good. I might have wanted to hold on to Jalen Wright. I think right now is probably a good time to get out from under Jalen McMillan. It seems like a lot to pay for Harris. Harris looks like right now, at least for this season, he's the sacrificial X, and he's going to be running a lot of deep routes, and they're going to be using Quinshon Judkins in motion, and then Ladd in the slot. So, yeah. But I love Trey Harris. All right, where were we? Devin Neal, my heartbreak. 6th round. He's got Kamara in front of him with a $28 million cap hit. Kamara's not going anywhere. I've been waiting for Kendre Miller for 2 years, and maybe this is the year. I hope. But Devin Neal, nice kid. Sucks that happened. Callum Mullings, he's got Tony Pollard ahead of him. Pollard has 4th round draft capital and a $7 million cap hit. Mullings has 6th round draft capital. Taj Brooks loses in draft capital to Chase Brown, although Chase Brown has $143,000 dead cap and Moss has $1.5 million. So who knows what's going to happen there. Damian Martinez in Seattle, he's behind Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet. That's a nothing burger. Brashard Smith, who knows? Isaiah Pacheco, 7th rounder, has been the starter. Kareem Hunt is cuttable. Elijah Mitchell is cuttable. We don't know anything that's in Spagnuolo's head or Andy Reid's head, so fuck it. Brashard Smith's starting day 1 for Kansas City. I don't know. Kyle Monangai in Chicago, he's behind DeAndre Swift and Roschon Johnson. Whatever. And then we have Allen in Jacksonville, Maffa and the Maffa Mafia in Dallas. But what if Maffa beats out Jaden Blue and then they cut Miles Sanders and Javonte? And then the last drafted running back was Krosky Merritt to Washington. He's totally safe. As soon as the draft was over, somebody sent me an offer. It was my 409 and Jaden Reed for the 209 and Brian Robinson Jr. And I was like, give me that. Like I move up 2 rounds and I get Brian Robinson Jr. and all I give up for it is Jaden Reed, who's my wide receiver 4, and I did not put him into my lineup last year. Thank you very fucking much. Teams not drafting running backs. Whoa. That was unhinged. The way my scroll, whatever. Green Bay, Buffalo, New York Jets, Baltimore, Philadelphia, Tampa Bay, Arizona, Atlanta, Minnesota, and Detroit. So Josh Jacobs, James Cook, Breece Hall and Braylon Allen, Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, Rashad and Bucky, James Conner, and Bijan Robinson, Aaron Jones, that's the Minnesota, and then the whole David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs. Those are all safe situations. So in rookie drafts, I'm unless it's like unless things change, I don't know if I'm going into the pre-draft process. I was like, I'm gonna draft wide receiver in the first 6 picks. If I have a first 6 pick slot, I'm gonna draft a wide receiver because I want to get one early, so and then load up on all of the talent at running back late. But the running backs got fucked. There were 25 running backs drafted. 18 of them are fucking dead to me in Dynasty, and that's absolutely tragic. All right, and then as far as wide receivers go, Luther Burden, man, could he have landed in a worse spot than Chicago? Like, what did we pray for Luther Burden? The opportunity to break out of the box that Missouri put him in. How is he going to do that in a pass catching situation with DJ Moore, who's not going anywhere, Rome Odunze, who's trying to break out himself, Cole Kmet, who's an established tight end, Colson Loveland, who, like, fuck. Why Luther Burden? Why do you have to take that away from us? The other one is, it's such a great story that Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel were drafted to the same team. They were both at Iowa State. Now they're going to be on the Texans together. Fuck, Houston, you killed both of them. Why? I love Jaden Higgins so much. I came out of the Senior Bowl like waving the Jaden Higgins flag harder than anybody else. And his draft capital fit that. I was so happy. All he's got to do is wait for Nico to get hurt, and he's wide receiver. And then they draft Noel. God. Jack Besh. Raiders, what are you going to do with him? You needed an X. You're not going to play him at X. He's basically like a blocking power slot, just like Jacoby Myers. Yeah. Why you do that? Chargers taking Trey Harris? Like Ladd McConkey is your wide receiver 1. Why? Is Teteroa McMillan the only one who's going to be like probably the wide receiver 1? Like, I love Kyle Williams. I love his landing spot. I think he has an opportunity in New England to have an outstanding rookie breakout, especially with Drake May, revamped offensive line, etc. But who else? Like, this draft really screwed a lot of people. Emeka Egbuka. I want to urge all of you guys to go to the Undroppables website, undroppables.com. Go to the merch store, and the first option is to buy the Unscore. Get your wide receiver model. Get your wide receiver model right now. It's not the be-all, end-all. It's just a guideline. It kind of gives you an idea of what we're looking at as far as the wide receiver class. But go get it. And, you know, you got to go get it. I'm not just going to give you the scores. I'm not just going to tell you what who ranks where. But Emeka Egbuka had an opportunity, and now it's looking less like a Malik Neighbors opportunity and more like a Jackson Smith and Jigba opportunity. Great that he went to the Buccaneers. Great wide receiver room. But God, he's like, Godwin's trying to come back. They got Mike. Like, yeah, why? I have a hard time today looking at 2025 and seeing a whole lot of production out of many of these rookies, maybe 3 running backs. I'm having a hard time finding it with just about any other position group. There might be 2 quarterbacks. There might be 4 quarterbacks. There won't be more than 4 quarterbacks that put up numbers in fantasy in 2025. There might be 5 running backs. There might be 2 tight ends. It's just this draft hurt my heart. It hurt my soul, and my soul. Yeah, buy low on that Egbuka next offseason like I bought tons of JSN. Yeah. It's rough. I'm excited that I'm in my home league. I'm getting I'm getting Travis Hunter with the 101 because I'm excited to have that cheat code. I'm excited that in my Undroppables league that Mike and I have a team. No, not undisputed. Omega. We got Genty. But it's rough out there this year. All right, that's going to do it for the show. Next week, I will have a guest, and I'm debuting a new segment. Now, I have my own YouTube channel, and my 20 subscribers have been waiting about a year for me to drop a new episode. But I used to do a weekly show where I would bring on a guest from the fantasy space, and we'd talk about non-fantasy things, or I'd bring on somebody else from outside the fantasy space, and we'd talk about fantasy football. So comedian Billy Wayne Davis came on the show. We talked about him being a college baseball player and the fact that he's a Raiders fan. I had Kenny King Jr. on, son of Raiders legend Kenny King. We talked a lot about stuff, but at the end of the show, I would do a top 5. So we'd spin a randomizer. The topic would hit burgers, tacos, restaurants, soda, beer, whiskey, whatever the random topic was, and then we'd go 5-1. The guest would give me their top 5 of whatever the category was. Films, whatever. Porn stars. And chat, put in who are your top 5 porn stars? Go ahead and drop that in the chat right here, and I'll share them on next week's show. So I'm gonna have the guest next week, and I'm bringing back the top 5. Dev, shout out to Dev for all the crazy fucking graphics. Love you, dog. Jamie, put your favorite porn stars in the chat. Me, and me. Nobody wants to see that, Jamie. So just keep those tapes in your drawer, and we're good. I'm not releasing mine either. But he did a fantastic intro video for the top 5. It's going to be good. And so my guess so that you have that to look forward to. Thank you guys for watching. Drop a like. Is that what the kids say? Drop a like. I think so. Hit the bell. Is that what they say? Hit the bell. Like and subscribe and hit the bell, please. Yeah, do all that stuff. You know what the fuck to do. You don't need to be reminded. Either you watch the show because you like it, or you fucking don't. Do I go to YouTube and look at how many people liked the show and get validated? Fuck you. I do this because I love to do this. So do whatever you want. Like it, don't like it, watch it, don't watch it. I'll be here next week, same time, and you can do whatever the fuck you want. I don't care. Do I want you to watch? Of course I want you to watch it. Do I want you to subscribe? Yes, subscribe to the Undroppables. Fantastic content. Do that. But is that going to affect whether I'm here next week or not? No. I'm going to be here anyway. If I look up and the count is 3 people, I'm going to be here. If I look up and the count is 200 people, I'm going to be here. If I look up and the count is 5,000 people, I'm going to be here. I hope you are too.